On today's show, can't put your phone down? You may be addicted to your smartphone, otherwise known as SPA. New research shows that this addiction physically alters the brain shape and size like a drug addict's. In my 5 things you need to know, I'll give you the inside scoop about what German researchers discovered, and you won't believe how serious the consequences can be. And the sky's the limit. A French skydiver was strapped to a jetpack that marked the first time a pilot has ever taken off vertically, up to 3,000 feet. What tech does it take for humans to fly autonomously? Stick around for your Tomorrow's Tech Today to find out. Plus, whatever happened to the iconic car, the DeLorean? I'll talk to one man who's hoping his popularity will catch fire and come back to the future. And finally, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. In today's digital life hack, the one thing tech-savvy pros do every quarter to keep finances in check. All this and more digital know-how here on Komando. Every day, I look at some 35 different websites to keep up with the latest tech news. And every show, I share only the top 5 stories you need to know. And let's start with all the people you know. Maybe it's you, that person who just can't put the phone down. Smartphone addiction, otherwise known as SPA, is a real thing. And now, new research says that your smartphone addiction can physically alter the shape and size of your brain. That smartphone can make you dumb. People with SPA have diminished levels of gray matter in key parts of their brains. As a refresher, gray matter is associated with important things like sight and speech, hearing, memory, decision-making, and self-control. Researchers also found decreased activity levels in the brains of smartphone addicts. And if any of this sounds familiar, these traits are also pretty common in the brains of other people, such as drug addicts. The published study goes on to say this is the first real evidence linking smartphone addiction with physical changes to the brain. It reminds me of the scared straight, this is your brain on drugs advertising campaign from the 80s that compared drug-addicted brains to fried eggs. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, here's your excuse to pick your phone up and look it up. And soon, we'll be carrying foldable phones. That's when the real problems will unfold. Okay, number 2, people like to complain about how much money they make, whether it's good or bad. And thanks to the free flow of information, there are sites like salary.com that will give you an idea about how much you should be making in a certain position. A guy at Slack named Zach Swears decided that wasn't enough. He sent a tweet stating that pay inequality is a big problem in tech and said, here's how much I make. $205,000 base, $500,000 in equity over 4 years, and gave his education, location, and experience with the hashtag Know Your Worth. I'd say that Zach has a pretty decent comp plan. The Twitter discussion went viral, and I'm sure his managers are wondering why Zach hates his job so much, and maybe he's just not worth it. And speaking of pay, this could be the start of a new trend in the tech field. Employees of the crowdfunding startup platform Kickstarter in Brooklyn, New York, recently voted to unionize. And it'll be the first union made up of full-time, white-collar, highly paid employees in the tech industry. So what happened? The heads of Kickstarter and the employees got into an argument over whether to allow a fundraising project for a comic book that had images of people punching Nazis. The employees won, and the comic book landed on the site. So then the employees said, hey, let's form a union. And now the company owners are trying to figure out what that means. It sounds like Kickstarter needs its own crowdfunding project now. Number 3, you cannot trust artificial intelligence. Let's say you're driving down the road in your smart car, but the built-in AI is keeping the speed set at a posted limit of 35 miles per hour. Suddenly, the car rapidly accelerates. What happened? Your car was hacked. A number of smart vehicles on the road today can be manipulated through the built-in AI camera system. All it takes is a strip of black tape. On a speed limit sign for 35 miles per hour, researchers attached a 2-inch strip of tape to elongate the middle line in the number 3, making it look almost like an 8. That simple modification successfully fooled the autopilot system in a 2016 Tesla Model X and a Model S, specifically the Mobileye camera. So the car went 85 miles per hour. Now, the big deal is that cyber criminals can make modifications to outside objects that override your car's software. Now, the good news is newer Teslas are equipped with their own proprietary cameras, and the Mobileye Q3 system has been upgraded and those weren't tricked by just a simple piece of tape. But it makes you wonder, if you added Microsoft Word to your Tesla's AI software, would the car then write your autobiography? Number 4, if you think that your teen needs to spend less time on Instagram and needs a job instead, he may be able to do both. Instagram isn't just a place to post selfies and vacation pics. It can also be a big moneymaker, and not just for influencers. Teens are turning Instagram into eBay or a Facebook marketplace of sorts. Input magazine profiled a couple of teens whose business model is pretty simple. They go to an area thrift store, buy secondhand clothes that they think they can resell, then auction them off through an Instagram account. It works, but it raises the question of why would they choose to sell on Instagram when there are other sites dedicated to that exact purpose? As their so-called customers bid by commenting on a post, engagement stays high, at least where Instagram algorithms are concerned. That means the post will show up in more feeds, do well, and the pay could rival that of a typical part-time job. Some of those teens are making close to $2,000 a month. So be sure to remind your teens that being an influencer on Instagram is just like being a millionaire playing Monopoly. Finally, number 5. It's hard to unlock your phone when you're wearing a surgical mask. You got to give it to them for ingenuity. There's a new website that will, I kid you not, print the lower part of your face that's covered by a surgical mask on the outside of one of these masks. Face ID masks will at least make one part of living in an area overrun with viral illness more manageable. That is, until you run into the next problem. A lot of modern Face ID tech isn't fooled by a photo, even if it's a photo of your face that you're wearing on your face. And in the near future, Face ID could even be getting more advanced. Trinamix has created new algorithms for camera sensors that can verify that your face is actually made of living flesh. Through reflected infrared, these new algorithms can supposedly perceive different materials, say plastic, wood, living skin, and yes, dead skin. Right now, it's still in the early development stages, but Trinamix has already begun working with Qualcomm to add the tech to certain Android phones as early as next year. And I wonder how it works with someone who's two-faced. Okay, the Kim Komando radio show, I got to tell you about that, is heard from coast to coast on over 400 top stations and around the globe on American Forces Network Radio. You can find us in 177 different countries and every ship at sea. Now, as a big part of a national radio show, it's the callers, of course. And here we have Chris Weiland, and he is the official call screener of the Kim Komando Show, manning the phones week after week, picking just the best callers.
That's right. Sorry, I think I have the smartphone addiction you were talking about.
Oh, no.
I can't stop looking.
Well, you're going to have to for just a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what. I was just reading an article I cannot stop thinking about. There were these hackers now. They're demanding nude photos in a recent ransomware scam.
Yeah, I read about that. Yes.
Well, you know, my biggest thing about this is I don't think they should do it, obviously. But if they are going to ask for nude photos, they're making all the mistakes. They're asking at the wrong time of the year. We all have holiday weight on still. Right?
That's right. Like it should be like summertime.
Yes, they should be asking when we have our smoking barbecue bodies. Not when we still got our spring rolls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because we're probably not going to want to pay the ransom right now.
Exactly. We don't want to pay. But in summer, I would do it even without a ransom. I'd say, hey, here's a picture, right?
I don't want to see that.
No? Okay. All right. Well,
that's a vision we don't need.
You're right. All I'm saying is we'll figure it out. I sent my nudes today, so we'll see what they say.
They're going to say, you know what, Chris? We're going to give you money to go to the gym.
That's right.
That's it. All right. How can advertisers reach the right customers at the right time? My next guest, this is great, is the head of research and insights at Google, Justin DeGraff. He'll explain what people are actually looking for when they come to Google. And that's next on Komando. You lose track of an old friend, or you just get nosy and you want to find out what an ex is doing on social media. In this Komando DIY, we'll share some pro tips to find just about anyone online.
Social media makes it easy to stay in touch with our friends and loved ones. But occasionally, among all the posts, pins, and tweets, connections can get lost. In this Komando DIY, we'll give you the tricks you need to know to find anyone on social media. For the best results, use a variety of social media platforms. Facebook is a great place to get started. Just type the person's name in the search bar, then click on the People tab. From this list, you can use any combination of filters to help refine your search results. To dig a little deeper, you can search People You May Know, located on the Find Friends page. Using a web browser is another way to search for that long-lost friend. Just type in the person's name at the end of social media sites. Google is another powerful search tool. It's right at your fingertips. Type in keywords like their name and location. No luck? Well, try a Google image search. Start at images.google.com and click the camera icon. Click the Upload Image tab, find the picture, and let Google do the rest. Thanks, Google. If the person you're looking for doesn't use social media, then a people's search site might do the trick. Most of them charge a fee if you want detailed results, but there are reliable free search sites like PeakU. Finding a missed connection is much easier with the help of social media sites, and these search tips can help your results. For more tech advice and links to find Kim Komando on social media, visit our website, komando.com, and search Find Anyone on social media.
Online marketing is all about connecting with your customers and giving them a reason to spend money with you over the competition. It's not easy, and that's where our next guest comes in. If you have a business online or you're just curious about how it all works, you've come to the right place. Joining us is Justin DeGraff, and he's the head of ads research and insights for Google. Welcome to the Kim Komando Show, Justin. Boy, that's a big title. What exactly do you do?
Hey, thanks for having me, Kim. It's good to be here. So my team at Google is responsible for learning more about what people need and helping our marketers and our advertising clients learn more about that.
And so why do people go and do a Google search in the first place?
Well, look, when I woke up this morning, I said, I need a cup of coffee. When my wife and I were looking for a car recently, we said, we need one with enough space for 2 car seats. People, when they come to Google, have needs they're trying to fulfill. And we're trying to understand what those needs are beyond just the obvious thing they type, so that we can show up better for them and be more productive for their searches.
And that's a practical use. But a video that I saw that you talked about 6 different states. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's right. So when we did some research with a research partner of ours who has an opt-in set of panelists that are helping us do research. And what we learned when we spoke with those people is we learned, hey, when you come to google.com, what is it that you actually need? There's the practical thing you described, but we also learned that they're coming to be thrilled, to be impressed or be impressive, to be educated, to be reassured, to be helped, and to be surprised.
How can I use that information to my benefit?
Great question. So here's the thing. People turn to Google because we help connect them to really relevant results. Marketers, when they show up more for a person's needs, they're going to drive more sales. And I'll give you an example that we saw. I was speaking with a woman in New Jersey. She was part of our opt-in research, and I was asking her about some of the queries she had done recently, one of which was looking for bouncy houses near her. She was a mom of 2. She needed to find a bouncy house. That was what she typed into Google. But when we talked to her about what were the underlying needs for that, what was driving it, she told us things like she wanted a fun activity, something that would be memorable for her daughters, something that would be more than just screen time. It would be more about physical activity. And she wanted to show up to her daughters as a good mom. She was looking for Google to help her show up for her family in a certain way. And when marketers do that, they're able to connect the dot to not just the thing that they're selling, but also solve the needs that they have.
Now let's say that I'm a small business owner and I want to use everything that you said to my advantage. What are some key strategies that I should implement?
One of the key points my team and Google tries to make is that understanding those needs are the ways that you're going to drive growth. And that can show up in a bunch of different ways. So if you're going to be doing search advertising, for example, or any advertising, trying to listen more about what people might need in that moment is important. So I have another example from our opt-in research. We had someone whose search journey for an automobile started with this search, one of my favorites since joining Google. What car should I drive if I make 150K?
Okay.
Great question. He was expecting to find a car that matched his new status. He had met a really important milestone of income and a salary, that he wanted to have a vehicle that showed up for him in the same way that was in line with what he pictured as his status. What we saw in the results is that he was seeing things more in line with financial planning and how much car could he afford. So a brand advertiser who sells cars that might be a good fit for someone looking for that impressive need state to be impressive might show up with the right content, might actually show up at all, and might refer them to a section of their website or a YouTube video that makes clear that they're going to help you arrive at that status you think you need in that moment.
And so that was the impress me state. What is the thrill me state?
Thrill me is one of the most exciting ones, as described by the name. And this is something where we saw that searches were more open-ended. And so when people show up to Google with that, they're looking for us to give them something unexpected to help make a connection to something they wouldn't know about necessarily. And where advertisers, small businesses can use this is to really show, hey, we got you. We understand the keywords you're looking for, and we think we have something really unique for you that you may not have known about.
Well, you know, Justin, this is all really fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your research with us and your time and coming on the Kim Komando Show, because we have a lot of small business listeners and viewers. And it's incredible just how much we can learn about people from the things that they're actually searching for. And now it's time for your tech trivia question. A lot of what we take for granted these days was discovered or created by accident, from food to technology. X-rays, discovered by accident. Cornflakes started out as bread dough that was left out too long and then it was baked. That leads to this week's question. Which of these household staples was created by accident? Was it A, a ceiling fan, B, the microwave oven, C, a TV remote, or D, a vacuum cleaner? Okay, go for the bonus points and guess the year too. Stay right where you are. I'll have the answers at the end of the hour. That's right. It's time for Brand New or Not True, America's favorite game show sensation that we play on radio and television. Why? Because it's fun. Why else? Because, well, there's always a slew of new tech products that get released week after week. And we always shake our heads and go, what were they thinking about that? And then lo and behold, the company turns into a unicorn and we're like, yes, maybe we should have thought about that. So every week we present you, the home listener and viewer, 3 products. 2 are fake, 1 is real. And this week it's Chris Weilands, the official call screener of the Kim Komando radio show, on board.
That's right.
Okay, so it's your turn to stump, but here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Because Mike's been feeling left out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you know, I'm the tech director. I've been here in 18 years.
Yeah.
And how come, you know, Chris is getting all the glory? And I said
Right.
to Mike, you know what, Mike? You're smart. You can play this week too.
Kinda.
So he's going to play too.
Okay, so you have to stump.
Okay.
And
so-
I'm ready. I got my notes. I'm writing this down.
Okay, great. So then if this is the case, why don't we up it a little bit? And if I stump both of you guys, you have to get like everybody here Starbucks next week. How does that sound?
That sounds like a good deal.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
I'm okay.
I'm not
I know
feeling
Mike
that.
was excited about it.
Okay, because you know what? Each Starbucks is not Starbucks. It should be
It's
called like
$5.
15 bucks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, that's why it's a wager.
Okay, so 3 products. We're ready.
3 products. Here we go. If I win and I stump both of you guys, we'll see what happens. So here we go. Do you guys have a friend who's a doctor or a
Yes.
lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the deal. If you do, then you know exactly how lucky you are. You can ask professional questions without having to spend thousands of dollars, right? That's why someone from the Neighborhood app is developing an app of professionals who live in your area. The goal is to show you what professional jobs people have near you, and in return, you can offer up a fun activity that you can bring them on, like golfing, fishing, etc. The idea is that the doctor will gain true friendship while you will gain knowledge of that lump on your arm.
I doubt it.
Okay.
Okay, well, you haven't heard the name yet.
What?
The name is Bedside Manor, but Mannor, so it's like a house.
You know what? That's clever.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
All right, number 2, do you take medicine, but you're worried about where your pill might go? Well, worry no more, because a pharmaceutical company is developing a remote-controlled drug capsule. It's a wireless pill that can target the part of your body that the medicine needs to go to, and you can track it on your phone the whole time. So imagine having something like a headache or stomach ulcers or anything like that, and being able to direct the medicine to where it should go. It's kind of like having a remote-controlled mini car inside your body, but instead of taking it for a spin, you get it to take it where it needs to go. The pill is finishing its approval process, but the company believes that this can change the medical world as we know it. Just imagine a doctor saying, "Take 2 pills and have them go straight to your patella." I Googled that word. The company calls it...
I don't know what that is.
Patella, it's your knee.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
The company calls it the Smart Tab, and it'll soon be available in every drugstore. Well, so this next one is very interesting. I've never been cheated on, so I wouldn't know what to do if I ever thought I was. But there's a new app that helps you know for sure whether or not your significant other has another significant other than you. Okay? Thanks to the world of social media, this app claims that it can figure out whether or not you're being cheated on and who the other person is. The company has created software that will look onto your partner's social media pages, find any person who has liked and commented consistently and more than anyone else. The idea is that whoever your person is cheating on you with can't keep much of a secret on TikTok or Instagram. They might not say anything like, "Hey, I'm so glad I'm dating you," but they will leave a heart emoji or they'll like every single photo. After the app figures out the person with the most activity, the app will then go on to the person's page and see how often your partner has liked and commented on their page.
What was that one called?
It is called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yes, I think that they're trying to target the younger crowd.
Okay, so number 1, we have the Neighborly app.
The bedside manner. Mhm.
Okay. Number 2, the wireless pill.
Correct.
And number 3, the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
First, let's ask Mike. What do you think, Mike?
I don't like that. I don't, like I said, the professional app doesn't make a lot of sense. Professional's too busy for stuff like that. He didn't have the price of the Smart Tab, so he didn't quite get that one figured out. I would say there's just enough people wondering on who's cheating to the third one, the dating
you know
app.
what? I don't agree for the same reasons as Mike.
Okay.
But I think it'd be really hard to have doctors and lawyers and want to really be friends with their neighbors.
Okay.
The wireless
Okay.
pill and the smart pill tab, it would have to go through so much FDA.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you target a rash with that? And then 3, the crazy ex-girlfriend. I'm going to go with 3. We're both going to go with 3.
You're both going to go with 3.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if I get Starbucks along with everybody else. The answer is, you're wrong. It's the Smart Tab is the correct one.
No, the smart tab?
The Smart Tab, it is real. They believe it'll change the whole medical industry.
How did they get through FDA approval?
I don't know, but they just recently got it, so from what I read. So yeah, it seems pretty
The
real.
smart tab.
And you'd think that's going to be way too expensive to even
Yeah.
put together anyway.
Yeah,
But
that's gonna be
I think
really
we should all do the Crazy
You know
Ex-Girlfriend
what?
app,
Because
that
you know
sounds
what?
great.
I think the crazy ex-girlfriend would actually be something really. People would totally do that because people that are
Yeah.
obsessed with like whether or not their ex is cheating on them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if anybody's watching or listening right
They
now,
just took our idea.
we have the idea
Yes,
first.
it's ours. It's ours. You can't have it.
Totally ours. Don't think about it. A big milestone happened in the search to reach 100% autonomous human flight. It's not just about speed, it's also about the altitude. And it's next in your Tomorrow's Tech Today. Tech moves so fast, and I love to take a look at where the future's headed. And this week, let's start with something that's been a staple of sci-fi for so many years, a jetpack that you wear on your back. The Crown Prince of Dubai shared a video of a French wingsuit pilot, and it definitely looks like something out of a movie. He's wearing the jet wing, made by a company called Jetman Dubai, and it just achieved a major milestone. You see, before now, pilots had to launch from helicopters, but for the first time, the jet wing was able to take off from the ground and soar into high-altitude flight, about 6,000 feet into the air. The pack is powered by 4 mini jet engines, and it's pretty slick. It can turn, come to a full stop, and hover. The pilot was able to reach speeds of almost 150 miles per hour, climbing 3,000 feet in about 30 seconds before deploying a parachute. There are limitations. It can only stay airborne for about 13 minutes or so, and good thing this Iron Man didn't fall in the water, then he'd be Iron Man. All right, speaking of air travel, French airplane manufacturer Airbus is also making big future tech plans. It's called the Airbus Maverick, a concept plane meant for commercial flight. It's a blended wing aircraft that looks like a B-2 bomber, and it's designed that way for a reason. When a plane is basically one big wing, it can go fast while also saving fuel. Airbus says the Maverick would consume 20% less fuel than traditional planes, and the interior cabin looks just as luxurious as a spaceship. The trade-off is because of the design, there are no windows. Airbus plans to continue testing to determine if the design really is the future of aviation. And if you're wondering about the name, Maverick isn't a nod to Tom Cruise's character in Top Gun. It's an acronym that stands for Model Aircraft for Validation and Experimentation of Robust, Innovative Controls. Okay, that seems like an odd choice of words, but I guess they really wanted to spell Maverick. All right, in the future, we're going to also grow our own food, and I'm not talking about farmers with hundreds of acres of land. This is the Growbox automated Growbox system, which is also referred to as the Keurig of plants. No, it's not made by the company behind the pod-based coffee maker, but it has some similarities. Just pick what plants you want to grow, throw in the seeds, water, and pick the appropriate choice on the companion app, then sit back while the Growbo goes to work. Now, based on what you're trying to grow, the automated system will continuously monitor the plants with an array of sensors and make adjustments to things like temperature, light, humidity, and water as needed. But effort-free home horticulture does come with a price tag. Now, there are two versions, the Growbo Solid and the Growbo Premium. And the only difference is that one has a solid door while the other one has a window. The Solid will set you back $2,000. Step up to the Premium and that tacks on an extra $200. Okay, farming vegetables can get pretty stressful at times. Maybe with this tech, it will let us remain calm. Okay, all right, are you happy? Okay, how do you know when you're really happy? Is it something that you feel deep down inside? Well, now in the future, tech will help us with a gadget called the Hap-B. It's something that you wear around your neck or as a headband, but it's definitely not Bluetooth headphones or a fitness tracker. Now, according to the team behind it, the Hap-B is the world's first wearable that lets you feel calm, alert, focused, relaxed, or sleepy. And here's the kicker, it does it on command. That's right, this thing promises to change your mood. And all you have to do is put the thing on, download an app, and pick your preferred state. Now, this is supposedly achieved by their patented electromagnetic frequency technology that's been under development for the last 15 years. They say that these safe electromagnetic feelings are transmitted into your body, which then emulates your favorite feelings and sensations. So if you're having a bad day, give yourself an electromagnetic burst of happiness. Going to the opera, change the setting to alert and crank it up. So the idea is to change your mood without having to ingest chemicals or substances. You just have to wonder if it's real or it's the crazy idea of people who ingested chemicals or substances. It'll cost about $350 when it ships. It's very true that money doesn't buy happiness, but it's better to cry in a Ferrari than a city bus. Okay, ever wonder what happened to the DeLorean? Well, my next guest is on a mission to revive the legendary car, and it's here on Komando. The Back to the Future movie trilogy helped establish the DMC DeLorean as an 80s icon. And our next guest is one of the only people in the country who still repairs and maintains DeLoreans. And now he wants to bring the icon back and into the future. And joining me now is Stephen Wynn, CEO of the DeLorean Motor Company. Stephen, thanks for joining us. And boy, what is that your factory behind you?
This is actually just our workshop where we do the service and restorations. We have a whole other part of the facility that will actually set up for the assembly line.
And so how did you get involved in the DeLoreans?
I'm an English car mechanic that specialized in English and French cars, and DeLorean is essentially an English and French car. So when I came to America, it seemed like the logical path to follow.
But then, so you started repairing them, and now you own the company?
Yes, started repairing them, you know, in the 80s, right after the company went out of business, and had the opportunity along the way to buy all of the remaining inventory after the original DeLorean went bankrupt. And then once we had all that inventory, it was, okay, now what are we going to do with all that stuff? So as well as service and repairing the cars, then we started looking at starting to make the cars, but unfortunately, you can't just go making an old car. Yet they have to conform to the regulations, and a 1980s car doesn't conform to the current regulations. So we were able to get together with SEMA and a bunch of the other people who work with replica cars, and we got the law changed, or got President Obama to sign it in December of 2015 that allowed for replicas to be made. And at that time, NHTSA was given 12 months to come up with the final guidelines. And unfortunately, here we are 5 years down the road, and we're still waiting for those final guidelines.
And so how many DeLoreans were made in the 80s?
Originally, there was about 9,200 cars made.
Can I buy a new DeLorean from you?
You can't at present, no, until we go into production, which again, we're waiting for those final guidelines, which we're hoping to receive by the end of this year. Then once that happens, then we'll start again with the engineering process of what it's going to take to put the car together. And all things being equal, about this time next year will probably be about the best case scenario for us to start being able to deliver new cars.
So let's say I wanted to make a pre-order on a brand new DeLorean. What would that car look like?
It's going to look exactly like the original car. You know, the replica program says that it has to be to match the original, which we really don't want to mess with the original car because it's such an iconic design. And that's what our brand is all about for now.
So what were some quirky things about the DeLorean? I mean, aside from the gull-wing doors.
Well, you know, the obvious one is the gull-wing doors, but also the fact that it has stainless steel body panels that were not painted. And the way the car is also constructed, it has a chassis, a fiberglass underbody, and then the stainless skins attached to it. So that makes it kind of unique to what you see around today, because most cars today are a unibody construction where the body and chassis are all as one. Does that make the car heavy? How much does the car weigh? No, they weigh about 2,800 pounds, which by today's standards is actually quite light. And what you asked there is a very common perception that people have. They think that, that it's 100% stainless, so it's going to be super heavy. But because it's got a fiberglass underbody, that actually helps reduce the weight. And so what about the cassette player? Yes. So the original specification was an AM/FM cassette with 4 speakers. Unfortunately, that's not going to make it with the next go-around. You're going to have like Android Play or Apple CarPlay, right? Oh yeah. Obviously, our customer base is very tech savvy, so we would have to be up to date with all of the current trends as far as in-car entertainment and features inside the car for sure. So when you're driving around Houston in a DeLorean, do you get a lot of looks? Oh, you cannot believe it. It's insane. And it's been this way for, I've been driving DeLoreans now for 38 years. And I'd say the car is more recognizable today than what it was when it was new. So when we look at the iconic version of the DeLorean, what can you add to it as a replica? Exterior-wise, we're pretty well locked in. It'll have some things like the wheels will be larger because we need to put bigger brakes on the car, and that's going to be a mechanical improvement. But the outside of the car, I'm very, very happy with it, and it's so instantly, iconically recognizable that I don't really want to change it. Plus the fact that I'm sitting on all of this inventory of body panels that we have to make the car. So at this stage, it doesn't pay to tool up to make a different car when we have this inventory that we can use for the assembly. Well, I think it was in 2019, I was at the Barrett-Jackson car auction in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I saw a DeLorean go over the block. 2 owners, I think it had 5,700 miles, and it sold for roughly $38,000 US dollars. How does that compare to, say, a year from now when you're going to be selling a DeLorean? Probably that car that you seen a couple of years ago today is probably a $50,000 to $60,000 car. Wow. And DeLoreans are just going up in value, which is great. It really helps the brand. But with the new car, we haven't quite finished the bill of materials, so we don't really have an idea of what it's going to be. But it's going to be, probably in the mid to low 150s, just because that's what it takes to put a car together these days. Now, one last question. Will it have any flux capacitors? No. We'll leave all the movie prop stuff for the movies, and we'll keep this as the real deal.
That's good. Hey, Stephen, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure having you here on the Kim Komando Show. You know, we're looking forward to taking our own time machine for a spin when production is finally finished. And now back to the trivia question I asked you earlier. A lot of what we take for granted was created by accident, including one of these household staples. Which of the following was created by accident? Was it A, a ceiling fan, B, a microwave oven, C, a TV remote, D, a vacuum cleaner? And the answer is B, the microwave oven. One day in 1945, a Raytheon engineer named Percy Spencer was researching electromagnetic waves for the military when something strange happened. The candy bar in his pocket melted. He was able to recreate what happened with other foods, then patented the radar range the same year. The first commercial version was sold to an Ohio restaurant in 1947. Get this, for $3,000. Today, that's the equivalent of around 35 grand. All right, it's time now for our digital life hack tip. And it seems like wherever you turn, some site is trying to sell you a subscription to some other thing. Let me tell you, I'm guilty too. Here's the free trial, and if you don't unsubscribe, you get signed up for it. So I checked. I'm subscribed to Apple Music, iCloud Storage, iDrive Backup, Postmates, Amazon Prime, The Wall Street Journal, HelloFresh, ExpressVPN, Consumer Reports, Nest, MyNexa, Peloton, Whistle. Well, that's really for Abby the Golden Retriever's GPS tracker expense. And I'm sure that there are more. And before you know it, you might be spending hundreds of dollars a year on services that you may not be using. So here's how you can start tracking your subscriptions to decide what's worth keeping. And it begins by making a list of everything that you're signed up for. Even the little amounts, the small amounts, they count up. And then once you start doing that, check your bank account and ditch the services that you aren't using. So once a quarter, you want to designate some time to explore your bank statements, go through the list, and look at recurring charges between each statement. Since most services range in price from about $4 a month to $20 a month, these savings can quickly add up. Now, what you want to do is cancel the subscription if you're not using it. If you miss it in a few weeks or a month, just go sign up again. If you have signed up using the iOS App Store, you can actually find subscriptions that charge you within there. And again, we have a whole section on the step-by-steps that you need to do that. Also, Google Play. And on Android, open the Settings app, tap Google, followed by the Google account. You want to look at your iCloud, open Settings, tap the profile name, and followed by iCloud. And that's where you can start changing your storage plan. And so all together now, maybe what you want to do is keep all your subscriptions on one credit card rather than spacing them out or putting them on different cards or some on your debit card, because that can pose a real nightmare when it comes time to keeping track of them all. Time now for some interesting items that crossed my screen. And this is a collection of things that you should probably know about, but it hasn't really been reported about on the mainstream media. It's no secret that the smart speakers in your home record everything with Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri. It can be unsettling. You got a couple of choices. You can kick it to the curb. You can push a button that disables the microphone, which kind of negates the reason for having one. But now there's a third option. It's certainly not going to award any style points, but it keeps your smart speakers from listening to your conversations. It's called the Bracelet of Silence. It was created by a team of scientists at the University of Chicago. It's equipped with 23 speakers that emit ultrasonic signals. You can't hear these signals. They're basically jamming the signals inside the microphones of an Echo, a Google Home, or a HomePod. You just power it up before you're about ready to start a conversation that you don't want recorded. It activates when you start speaking. Right now, it's just a prototype. So that means if you have smarter speakers and you want to have a sensitive conversation in the privacy of your own home, you now have to go outside to do that. All right, it's time now for our DIY security tip. And let me tell you, the smartest hackers aren't the ones who can hack the most systems. They're the ones who never get caught. If they're clever and stealthy enough, a hacker can leave your system filled to the brim with malware or weird ads, confuse your friends and relatives with shady emails, and maybe even drain your bank account. The worst part, it's usually our poor cybersecurity practices that make these hacks easy to pull off. So your best defense is knowing what to expect. So here are some surefire ways to know if your system has been hacked and what you can do to fix it, better yet, prevent it. So let's start with all of a sudden, your system slows to a crawl, and then when you start touching, it's just too hot to be bothered. See, excessive heat will also wear out the mechanical components such as fans. A device that runs cool will last for a long time. But if things are running in the background and you don't know it, things are going to slow down, and all of a sudden everything that you use is hot. So fortunately for your PC, we're going to recommend that you use Task Manager. On your Mac, you want to use something called Activity Monitor, and on your phones, you can also run a similar program to see if there are things running in the background, and then you know that, hey, I didn't put that on my system. Second sign, all of a sudden you're using more data than usual. What's going on with that? Every internet provider has tools that keep track of your monthly bandwidth consumption. And so what you want to do is check your user portal. Also on your Android, you can look under settings and data usage. iPhone settings and cellular, also mobile data. Don't worry about the steps. We have them for you on the website. Maybe you start seeing pop-up ads out of nowhere. What's going on with that? Well, again, that could be a sign that something weird's in your system. You might have some malware or a keylogger. And number 4, unexplained online activities. You start checking your accounts, and it says that you logged in already. What? You look on your email sent folder, and it's like, I didn't send that. I didn't post it on my social media. And hit komando.com for more signs that your device is infected with a virus or keylogger. The best way to do that, head over to komando.com, and once you're there, hit the link on the top that says Kim Show.
Standby control. Cue Kim.
Do you like to ski, but you hate paying for those expensive lift tickets? I'm going to show you how one man, he bypassed all the lift tickets and the lines. Next, here on Komando. Let's go over to the Scottish Highlands, where one innovative skier figured out how to harness the power of technology to skip the long lines at a local resort. In fact, he didn't even need to buy a lift ticket. He looked like a regular skier, wearing the usual outfit, warm clothes, boots, goggles, and a helmet, of course. But this skier, who was filmed as he blasted uphill at the Glenshee Ski Center in Aberdeenshire, had something else on his back. It was a jetpack. That's right. This skiing rocket man took matters into his own hands. Pushing a button on the jetpack, the engine started and he roared up the hill. He skied down and then fired up the jetpack again, and up he went. The ski resort posted pictures on social media asking for the identity of the skier, and so far no one knows. Just remember, old skiers never die. They just go downhill and now uphill really fast. Hey, I appreciate you being here, and stick with me for your trusted digital know-how. Find your local radio station that broadcasts my show, along with more DIY how-tos, videos, free news alerts delivered from me to your email address, along with the Komando community, where you can blog and ask your tech questions on our website without anyone tracking you. That's komando.com, and thanks so much for watching.